Good fairy, bad fairy. You know how the fairies used to visit in those fairy stories when there was a new baby, especially a princess? All the good fairies would arrive, usually at the christening, each bringing a special gift for the baby's life. A beautiful face, a kind heart, a sweet voice, a handsome husband, and even magical powers. You were magic. I knew it from the moment you were born. I was barely conscious, and you were too ill to cry, so I certainly had no physical sign that a baby was there. But I knew it because I felt your soul in the room. Later, I always felt your presence in the house, even if you were being quiet. Even when you were older and I'd not heard you come into the house, I could sense you, even though you were in another room and making no noise. Was it the air of contentment, I wonder, or busyness, or perhaps some special gift the fairies brought? Or was it quite simply the tangible presence of a magic person? Not that you are a real princess, far from it, but they still come, the fairies. Nowadays they bring baby powder, booties, and some flowers for the mother. People like to see a new baby, especially a late baby, a surprise baby. A mistake. She's going to be pretty, said one neighbour. I bet she's going to be clever like the others, said my best friend. She already looks good-natured, was my mother's first comment. The really special fairy sat on my bed. She knew. She knew it wasn't just the baby, the unexpectedness of it all. She knew there were other problems. You know, my sister had a late little girl like this. She became the closest to her, the greatest help, somehow special. And you were lovely, my company. The others grew up and were soon out with friends or away at college or gone, left home, married, and, well, we were a single family by then. You and I made a life together with what we had, and I can see your sweet smile looking up at me as we shopped and tried to afford treats. You sang too, played the piano, and it was magic. As I heard the music coming from the other room, I thought, hands that I created are sending back to my ears this music, and it is like a gift. As you grew, our lives became busy. I managed to find some work, and you had school, homework, and exams, but you were always there. We discussed our day as we rushed around at breakfast or some issue in the news. Or maybe you'd just been running and I'd been for an early swim. Sometimes we went for the early swim together. Then you would be there in the evening with your homework, your favourite daily soap, and with your cooking. While we watched television together, I would run my hands through your lovely silky hair. As you became more involved with your running, your keeping fit, your diet, so you began to choose your own food and prepare it yourself. Heaped bowls of vegetables, finely chopped salads, but we cooked and ate together, and there was still our chat, your laughter, and your magic. Our conversation has always been my ideal, neither flippant and boring nor tensely intellectual. It trickles with felicity through the serious and the fun, through the theoretic and the anecdotal, to good plain gossip and good plain bitch. When we were finally completely alone in the house, you suggested that we go out somewhere together every week, so that we don't grow apart like other mothers and daughters. It was mostly to the cinema, sometimes to the theatre, for a meal, or just to the shops, whether local or in town. We went to Oxford, to Brighton, to Windsor Castle. A lovely day, that last one, and I forgot to take the camera, but I can still see it now, beginning with us buying you bags of fruit for your picnic. You in your short beige canvas skirt, and my top you'd borrowed, white with the printed lemon design, your soft browny hair glinting with gold dust in the sun, and your long, thin brown legs. I think my favourite was the performance of the Messiah. You did not know the work before, and I felt my pleasure and yours as you enjoyed what I had so long loved. And we giggled about the tall man in the row in front, blocking our view. Then there was the time of separation. It could not be helped. My change of work, your college, and the housing situation. We tried to work it so that we could still live together, but it was just not possible. I had a problem. I'd met somebody and it wasn't working out. I should not have let that blur my observation of you. But I'd been single for so long and was confused, and now you were going, like the others. You had problems too. Maybe we both wanted to spare each other pain. Maybe there is always that reserve between the generations when it comes to our man-woman relationships. We do not confide in our mothers or our daughters, but tend to turn instead to sisters and friends. We still met, though, somehow. One of us travelling to the other's area. At weekends, unless we could fit my days off around your lecture times, we would walk and shop and meet in cafes. When we had picnics, you brought your apples. I brought my sandwiches. Once it rained and we surreptitiously hid our picnic under a cafe table on our knees while buying a token pot of tea for me, a Diet Coke for you. Sometimes we sat and ate in the rain, with our umbrellas up. As time went by, it seemed you were always wanting to sit and talk over some kind of meal rather than walk and look and see, or even shop. So we usually met in cafes and restaurants, of course finding the cheapest places. A coffee and bun for me, Diet Coke for you. Tea and cake for me, Diet Pepsi for you. Your favourite was to sit for 3 hours over a proper meal, maybe in one of these eat as much pasta as you can for £3 places. Those restaurants always had an eat as much salad as you can pile on your dish offer as well. You always had the salad, I remember now. Did not really register properly with me at the time. Although you never had the in-betweens that I did, the sandwich with the coffee, the biscuit with the tea, the bar of chocolate if a meal were late or missed. You liked eating and liked to see me eat too. You always wanted to know what I'd been eating, and if I'd said I'd been out with a friend for a meal, you wanted to know everything we'd had in great detail. You always ate so slowly, savouring every morsel. I think I did half notice, though I didn't take it in, did not understand its importance. While we sat and talked for 3 hours, I got through 4 plates of pasta while you made your own bowl of salad last the same length of time, with a teaspoon to make it last. If we could afford a good meal, you would eat all yours and finish mine. Your intake seemed endless, yet you could deny yourself all day. Maybe it was because part of your eating pattern was sometimes to eat so much more than I could ever have eaten that I never really worried about the other times. Never really understood, hadn't heard of these sorts of problems, was just so happy to be with you and to be able to buy you a treat meal when you wanted one. I enjoyed our meetings, with the conversation still ranging back and forth between the serious and the laughter, about the family, moral issues, television, famous people, and about food. But you weren't there at breakfast or doing your homework or watching your soap, nor were you with me doing your now rigorous fitness routine. One day I looked through your music. You'd not taken it with you. You'd know where to play, and tried to pick up the tune I loved you playing best of all on the piano with one finger, slowly. And, it didn't sound like you at all. Even had I been able to play, I knew I would never have had your magic touch. Once, when looking through my tapes to find a blank one to record on, I discovered one I didn't know existed. You must have recorded it without my knowing, of yourself, so I could hear your sweet 14-year-old voice. Oh, what seemed like so many years ago, your sweet voice singing. I was always late when we met. I don't know how or why, but you were always at the place or meeting first. Maybe I was too busy or too tired. Maybe it was because of my problems. Or perhaps it was that sometimes I was unrealistic about how long a journey would take, how long a walk from the station or car park might be. Or too thoughtless, careless, about just finishing one more little job. Oh, wait for me. We met at stations, shops, cafes and restaurants. When you came to my area, we met at the church gates. Sometimes you were cross, sometimes you looked anxious or sad. But what I saw clearly was your dear face looking expectant, waiting for your mother. Once I nearly made it. I was not only on time, but even early. I would be there before you. First I couldn't park the car, and then somebody asked me the way, needing lengthy directions. What I can see always is me running along in my long skirts, late. You waiting patiently at the gates in your leggings and baggy shirts. I noticed that you were always wearing the same sort of thing, the same thing. How many times had you worn those grey leggings? They were stained, dirty. I could no longer run my fingers through your hair. We don't look at clothes anymore, I said. I know you can't afford any, but you don't seem to be interested anymore. That's because I think I look ugly whatever I wear. I don't look in the mirror. I just see myself as fat. All the girls today are like that, I thought. They all look like that. But a few days later I was on a bus and there were a lot of young girls and I studied them and thought, no, they don't all look like that. I'll get a new hairbrush for her birthday, I thought. One of those really good ones. Maison Pearson. Expensive. But I didn't see you for a long time because of work and exams, you said, and you were going away with college friends for the summer. It was what we'd always known would happen and why we had had those years of visits to the cinema and Windsor Castle and meals. In the new term, the new academic year, I hoped I would make up for our separation by never being late, by always being there first. At least one day, I thought, as I tried to pick out that tune on your piano and listen to the old Tate's 14-year-old voice, at least in the end, I'll be there first, in the final meeting, the last waiting. I'll be in heaven before you, and I'll be the one doing the waiting then. The last time we met was 6 months ago, and there will be no more waiting now. Not till the last time. I thought it would be me waiting for you, but yet again it's me that's going to be late. There was that other fairy, you see, the bad one, the one that predicted you'd prick your finger. The only thing is, dear, with an older mother, she doesn't look as though she's going to be strong, does she? So many times I've run to you at the cafe door, the church gates, thinking, this time I'll make it. I'll be first, or certainly won't be late. And I naturally believe that about the last meeting. But good old Mum, late again. I'm afraid you've made it first, like you always did, at the church gates, looking and waiting. I'm coming, beautiful angel. Wait for me.